Thank you.
There.
Where'd you guys go? Great. Okay, cool. Which one? At Edina? Yeah, Galleria.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock. How about it? I'm sure people will be coming on in and that's all good. No concerns. Let me just make sure my phone is completely off. It is. Cool. Wonderful. So today, the exciting course of templates. Not quite sure, templates is something I use every single day. What I'm going to be teaching is the things that should be in your templates. I'll talk about clauses and how if you write something more than once, I believe you should create a clause for it so that it can just drop into your forms automatically, and we'll go over what those are. So from our front page, we will be going into the transaction desk. That's where we're going to be living today. Now, most of you have probably seen that they've made a change. That's not necessarily what we're going to be deep diving in. At the end, we'll go over the new transaction desk stuff just briefly. However, that change just happened like a week and a half ago. And we don't have our forms for integrity into that system yet. So to teach you guys about those templates isn't really going to be as helpful until we get all of those things in. So we're going to go into the templates on the regular transaction desk, the classic.
Question for you, sorry.
Yep.
But could I get you to join our Zoom meeting?
Yes, and then I can share my screen. That's the easiest way.
Refer back to this and see the thing instead of just kind of a faraway TV.
Totally. I think I can just go right into the train.
I will make you a host and then share your screen, and that way, weeks to come, people can still refer back.
Yes.
Right.
The which? Yes. Okay.
It's the same one.
Well. Good morning. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. So we'll be able to go ahead and in there. It'll take its own sweet time.
Recording in progress.
Yep. There it is.
You can share your screen.
Perfect. Excellent. Everything away from where it's supposed to go. Yep. Okay. So we're going to go from the regular front page. There's a couple ways you can go. Of course, you can do these external links, or you can go to tools, and then we'll go into your dashboard. So from the dashboard, I want to just, I'm going to kick out this little area. When you can collapse it or you can make it bigger so that you can see what those things are. Right now, we're on the dashboard. And once again, just like how on the dashboard of our MLS can be changed and made the way you want it to be, you can do the same thing for, share my screen again. You can do the same thing for your dashboard on, and it's this little unlock and lock button. So you unlock it and you can choose what you want to be on that front dashboard. I personally, like, it probably looks different on yours than mine.
I'm not even there yet.
Okay.
I'm just like, sorry, it's
just taking a little bit of time. No problem. Don't worry about it. Because this really is a good workshopping one. You should have your stuff up so that you can add the things at the same time. It's really a great way to do it. But let's say if I wanted to create a signing, I could have that on the side of my dashboard. You can just add and subtract any of the things that you might want. I just love it that I want it as clean as possible and as easy to read as possible. That's why it's like my transactions are there at the front, then my signings, and then there's a little place I can create a transaction. And then that whole start signing, well, if I don't have a I take everything from the transactions to create the signing. So to create a random signing is kind of weird for me. So I'm going to take that back out. And then once I have things the way I want them, I just click it back and don't have to worry about it getting moved all over the place. So that's kind of a nice thing with that. And then if you want to just be in your transactions, you can click right into your transactions and you can set those up however you want. Mine's in a list, but if we wanted them to be in a grid, you can change it to a grid. Or you can change it back to a list, however you want to do that. You can also create one right here up at the ad. So you don't have to have that button from the dashboard. You can just create one straight from there. No problem. The next one is the signings. One of the things that people might not understand about the signings is you get to keep your signings no matter where you go. If you ever leave this office, I don't think that we shut you down but when you transfer some other offices, they keep all of your transactions at their office. That's happened. I've been at 4 different Keller Williams. At 2 of them, they chose to keep my transactions. So I can't see those transactions.
You can't go back to your history.
Exactly. However, I can see all the signings still from all of my transactions. So that's kind of a nice thing that you always have those. So anytime I'm thinking about making a change, I keep all of those in a different thing just in case my clients wants them. But of course, that's what the, transaction fee is for, that if for whatever reason I'm no longer at that office, my clients can go to that office and say, hey, I want my documents from my transaction. Well, you guys paid a fee to get that anytime you want, so go ahead and grab them, that's fine. And then the next is the freestanding forms. The only time I've ever really just used the freestanding forms, if I needed to grab, let's say I'm going to do an open house and I want to have a stack of the agency relationships. I don't know if many people do this, but I like to go over those when I meet people at open houses. I'm actually having my virtual assistant create this little poster board for me in my branding that says the 4 ways you can hire a real estate agent in Minnesota. Because I like to be that agent that is like a guide or a consultative type. I want to be teaching them the minute I meet them. And so if I can set myself above like other people, like every time I've gone over agency where I've had it like laminated at my open house, people are like, wait a second, nobody's ever said this to me. And it's like, yeah, usually they might give you this form and maybe not go over it, but I like just to go over it with everybody so they know what it is. So
Side question on your 4 ways to hire an agent.
Yep.
Real estate agent. Are you envisioning that being like something inside?
That I will bring into the open house and just have it with my brand. Because like my sign branding on the outside, it's got this big red band and it kind of looks like a Monopoly card.
Oh, sure.
And so I'm going to have that same thing. And then it's going to say, facilitator, buyer's agent, seller's agent, and then dual agent. So I can go ahead and explain. And when I explain that form, I always say facilitator first, letting them know, that doesn't mean any representation at all, that I'm just doing the paperwork so that when I get down to dual, it's like, oh, and what happens with that is I really do have to downgrade because I can't put either parties above each other. So it's almost like that facilitation we talked about in the beginning. So, it's just one of those ways, like, how can we stand out? And the idea of if people are getting out of their cars to come into an open house, they may say they're not buying, but they are so much more likely to buy than somebody who's just scrolling on their phone, right? Like, these are people that are an opportunity that we should be making the most and like showing people how we're different. And oftentimes the people come to the open houses are actually people. One of my favorite scripts that I use is the Ben Kinney script. I don't know if he's like one of the founders of Place, and he had his own Ben Kinney team, but his script, and you can find it on YouTube to hear him say it, is, there's two reasons people come into my open houses. They're either looking for a house like this to buy, or they have a house like this to sell. Which are you? The magic in that script is ridiculous. It brings out conversations I've never had when it was like, oh, do you live in the area? Are you familiar? Do you have all those kind of things. So it's one of that kind of thing that you can set yourself out. So the only time I've really gone into a single is just gone in, and then we just start typing agency, and there it is. And oftentimes I'll just grab it, create a standalone form, and print that out, have it for my client, or my potential customers, probably is what we want to call it. The next is documents. Let's say you are on a team, or maybe you're creating branding because you plan on growing bigger, or any of those things. If there's a document that you wanted included in your buyer representation packet, or your listing packet, or something that just explains like that you've created, you can put it into these documents. You can create a folder and just have it there in a PDF form to add to anything you want. And when we create the template, you can have it so that it automatically adds for yourself. And I think that that's kind of a nice thing. You might have a little blurb about who you are. You might have a little blurb about the area, or whatever it could be. You could have something for out of town buyers, in town, like maybe people are making a transition. You have some kind of sheet that you've created. You can put it in the document so that you don't have to go grab it from Word or wherever you have it. You can have it right there for you. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, there is a place where all your transactions are kept. Anytime you've created a transaction, this is your backup. And so you will also find all of the things that you've had in past there as well.
Will those leave with you or stay with you?
And they stay with you. So that's kind of a backdoor too. The next thing is the tasks. Now, some other offices that aren't Keller Williams, sometimes if you don't have a command system that kind of creates like tasks and things for you, you can actually set tasks for each transaction in this system. I don't have anything set up because we have command, and I have everything set up in command for like my flow. But if you wanted to, you could absolutely create a task of, okay, when this happens, and people all over the country use it for that. I just don't happen to. Here's all of the contacts who've ever gotten anything to sign from me or any of that. It's right there. And those do come over with us as well. So it's not like they're taking our contacts away. And here are clauses. Now, if you write something more than once, I think you should create a clause. For example, like we can go into my personal ones. I have an escalation clause. So I have an appraisal clause, for a conventional loan that I maybe want to protect my clients, even though there's no appraisal language in. So we can just go into that and take a look at it. This purchase agreement is contingent upon the appraisal of this property coming back with a value that is the same or greater than the purchase price. In the event that the appraisal value of the property is less than the purchase price, the buyer shall not be bound to the terms of the purchase price. In that case, buyer may, at their option, continue with the sale of the property, renegotiate the terms of the purchase agreement, or cancel purchase agreement. If the agreement is canceled pursuant to this clause, any earnest money will be refunded to the buyer.
There are appraisal gap options in the office.
Do they have office ones, which is
Yeah.
awesome?
See those?
I didn't even know that.
Most people
Go in Word and
you
like.
have to go in, you go to these other things, but you shouldn't have to, especially like for inspection. The wording I always use is, based on, I've got it there, based on the results of the home inspection, and then I usually put in the date the home inspection was, the buyer is requiring the seller at seller's expense to address the following items.
Yeah.
It's gonna be the same every single time. Why not have it in the system that you use it in? And then when you get to that appraisal, like you do an amendment, and there's a little thing that like hovers at the top
Huh.
that says clause, you click on it, you pick your clause, and it automatically fills it.
Perfect.
It's so good, right? Like these
Okay.
pieces.
The amendment, then it just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we opened up
You
an
don't even
amendment.
Piece it out of here, just all there.
It just
How
clicks it.
works?
Yeah, I'll show you right now. Okay, so I'll go
Oh my
into,
gosh, I'm totally doing that. That's,
it's so good. So I'll go into Balmoral and I'll
Where are
have
we
to
going?
add an amendment.
Okay.
So amend. And I always do the such with the stuff with the searches. And so amendment to purchase agreement, not commercial. There it is. Okay. So once we go, and it's always at the bottom, not purchase a counter. Go back. Save and exit. Oh, it didn't go all the way to the bottom. Okay. So we're going to click into it. And then you'll see at the top here, add clause.
I always.
What?
Is, I just type it in.
And then we go to personal clauses. And then
Oh, that's so cool.
we'll get my face out of the way. Everybody's face is out of the way. Oh, it's okay. Boop. This is why, you should be able to write an offer in 5 minutes when you have all your templates set up and your clauses, Yeah. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. So that's the clauses, and let's see what the office ones have. Okay, they have a gap clause. So if you're
Gap.
writing
And
And- with a gap, so that people will know if it's this between this and that. Yep. And then, they have just 4 different gap options. So these are all gap options. What
Right.
I'm asking for is that we don't go forward if the appraisal is off,
right.
which is, it's been a while since people, I don't think I've put one of those in since I actually received one this year that had that in there, that language written in, and of course I asked them to strike it. But I do, yeah. So what other ones do I have? Personal. But let's say, like appliances, when you're filling out, any of that, and you just want to click that for the appliances, and you can have all the appliances already in there and then just take out the ones you don't want. Any way just to make any of this simpler. I've had one where, the buyer hadn't seen the property. Well, we're going to put a little wording in there that the buyer has to see it during the inspection or whatever, escalation clauses. I have my own that,
Yeah.
was from a different one. Like a 1031. I have a clause, that people understand that this is a 1031 exchange, blah, blah, blah. You can create whatever you want. If it's something that you write more than twice, I think you should just go ahead and create a clause. Yep. And then the next is the transaction templates. This is what we're really, really here for today. Now, when we go in, I'm not sure if you all have the same ones that I have. I don't know what our office and maybe what different transaction companies. So I'm going to open mine up and you're going to be like, oh, that's an awful lot of them. The thing about it is, if somebody else has a transaction template, you can go and take it. Sorry, guys, like you put it into our system. It is up for grabs for all of us to make a copy and make it our own. I'll teach you how to actually create your own, and I'll show you how you take a copy and then tweak it a little, because I think that you should have purchase agreement, transaction templates, one for cash, one for conventional, one for VA and FHA, so that you grab the right one that takes how much of your boxes, because you can fill in all the boxes beforehand, so that, oh, I know that when I talk to my friends and family who I'm helping buy a property, and maybe they are a VA or an FHA home purchaser, instead of leaving that little line blank when it says fixes, oh, we agree to take care of blank amount for fixes if it gets pointed out by the inspector. If I'm doing FHA, I just go ahead and I put $500 in there. And the reason why is in case the stupid GCFI outlets in the kitchen or bathroom or by the sink in the basement aren't right. Because I don't want to have to really negotiate those. I want them to just take care of it. And if we have $500 in there already, then we don't have to worry. But I'll put that in my FHA, whereas when I have a conventional loan, I know that's not going to be in there. I have mine crossed out right there so that I'm not even thinking about it. So it's those kind of things that if you put them in your transaction templates, that it makes it much smoother. And then once again, make sure that anytime you create a template, when we all get in every August, when we get the new things come through, that you update your templates and make sure you always put the date so you know when did I create this template? Because you'll see like there's ones that I have from 2022. You know what? I don't need those anymore. So it would be fine if I just went ahead and got rid of those, right? So I'll just delete, no big deal. So the first one that I'm going to go ahead and create, I'm going to press add, and I'm going to name it, my team's the Win Home Team. So 2025 buyer rep. And then type, we want to go ahead and put residential sale. And if I wanted to put a description, I would. And then press save. So then if I had checklists that would be applicable for a buyer, I could put it right in here. I could link it right there and it would create it right there. Let me get this guy out of the way. Actually, I'm going to put that down. Cool. If, I want to add contacts. So for myself, let's say I wanted to put in my transaction coordinator or my assistant so that she could see any of those things, because she creates flyers every time we have an accepted offer or any of that kind of thing. Or if we have a new listing, we could put her in there. Automatically, it will put your brokerage and you into these templates. So you don't have to do those people. But let's say you're on a team with another person that you want them to always get the stuff as well. Put them into your template and they will always be there as well. Next thing is that documents and forms. Like I said, if I had a special buyer little sheet that I wanted to put in with every one of my buying packets, I would put it here. I would just have it available and ready. And then the forms, we go ahead and add the forms. And I always just do the search. So agency relationships. And then I find the newest one. And then I just erase. And you can see how many you have in the little basket up at the top. And the next thing I want is the buyer rep. And I always am going to default to the exclusive. So here's my exclusive. Now, maybe you want to have one with investors. You have a buyer representation contract for your investor clients, and maybe you don't require them to do an exclusive. I don't require, when I'm working with an investor, I don't require them to do an exclusive with me because I know that they might be looking at Rochester. They maybe look at Duluth. I'm not schlepping, all that way. I just want to do the properties I show them. I want to be paid for from that. I'm okay if they are investing with other people too. Like there's plenty of room for all of us to make our money. So then after the buyer representation, I always put the inspection little thing, for your protection, get a home inspection. I always have that in mind. I also have that integrity affiliated business arrangement and the buyer disclosure. Now that we have it for just the one side, make sure that it's the right one for that, the buyer disclosures. And then the other, because of how I'm doing my intake meetings with especially internet leads, I also put in the buyer touring agreement in with my new one.
Did you say agency?
Yep, that was the first one that I put in. And then you can double check them at the bottom.
Buyer touring agreement for?
So when I meet with somebody from the internet the first time, I create a tour with them. And the first stop we make is at a coffee shop usually. And we have our strategic meeting there where I go over agency relationship, then I go over the entire buyer representation. However, in order to see the first house, what I say to them is, you know, for this first house we're going to see, because we are legally obligated to sign something today for me to bring you into that house, we'll go ahead and do the touring agreement for this first time. And you'll see here, I put it for no cost, no fee, none of that. And then when you choose to hire me, I'm going to send you this other paperwork electronically and you can sign that. And it's worked like a charm. So that's how I've been doing it lately. Maybe that's not the way you want to do it. You don't have to include it.
It's a good tip.
But it's just the way I've done it. And it's because about 50% of my business is with internet leads. So it makes sense for me. Here we go. So then we go up to the top and we update it. And that's our new transaction template. And that's going to, you know, like right now, if we wanted to, we could go back into the templates and we could copy that one. It's going to be at the bottom, I think. 2025. Yep. So we could go in, we can make a copy. And then I'm going to take that copy and I'm going to put investor. And I'm going to create. And then for the investor one, I'm going to click back in it. I'm going to go down to the forms. I'm going to get rid of the buyer representation exclusive. And I'm going to add the non-exclusive. And that way, now I don't have to think when it's time to create a buyer rep. I can choose my non-exclusive or my exclusive. And now I'm going to create the purchase agreement. So offer packet is what I usually call those. Offer pack. And let's do this one for cash. So cash offer. And that's once again a residential sale. We'll save. We'll go through, grab the forms. And so for that, the first form that should always be there is the compensation disclosure for buyer/tenant. And then the next thing is always the purchase agreement. And I always go all the way to the bottom and it's like the fifth one up. Yep. And then You can even make it for single family homes or townhouses and that, you know, whatever, like you can make it as intricate as you want it to be. This one, we'll go ahead and we'll have arbitration. We'll do, I don't do a separate personal property agreement. I always have it on the contract, and that comes from my old broker. He made this point of, you know, it said that on those personal property agreements, it says for $1, you know, like, and he's like, what if somebody just brought $1 to the closing and kept all those things? You know, what could you possibly do then? It's better just to have it on. So that's what I always do. So arbitration, what else could we need? I think that's really it. If it's a single family home that's, and we could even say like, let's add these. You can call this cash offer home newer than 1980. So then you know, single family home newer. So then you know that it's not going to have the lead paint thing, but most times that's going to be in the documents in the listing that you can, you know, bring up in the signing anyway. So that's all good. So, and then I want to make sure that it's when home 2025, so that I always know when did I create this. Update that. And then you can create the listing. Or if we wanted to go and make a copy of this, and we can create, we can change it. We're going to do, let's say it's going to be an FHA. Oh, what I wanted to show you with the other, okay, let's go back into that cash one. We're going to go into the cash one. We're going to actually go into the actual forms, into the purchase agreement. So in the purchase agreement, we can mark up the things that we want to have marked up. So when it's cash, and this is my cash transaction, I'm going to have it already to cash. So it's 100% cash. I know that it's not subject to any of this mortgage financing stuff. So we'll go down past all of this because it won't matter. And this is that lender commitment work order that I was talking about that I will change when it's FHA. And then I have never asked a seller to pay for my buyer's closing costs if it's been a cash deal. I think that they might laugh at you if you did. They'd be like, why don't you just adjust the price? So I'm going to go ahead and click that as not. Inspection. We don't know because that's going to depend on that cash buyer. We don't know if it's going to be, you know, subject to the sale of a property. We do know that we're going to prorate everything. Chances are, I always default to the shall not on the homesteaded because oftentimes they're already homesteaded, so you don't change it. And if I need to change it, I can do it while I go through. So since most often I'm doing the shall not, I put that in there. And on almost all of these, I put seller shall. So I'm going to do that. I have only once had a notice that I had to put has. So I'm going to put has not because that's the typical. Rarely do I write an offer that's a backup offer, anything like that, so I'm gonna put the is not. Most often it is a warranty deed. If I do need to change it to personal representation or trustees, I will at the time of writing it. But just in order to make this as easy as possible, I'll just click the ones that are usually this way. I won't know if it's a seller's disclosure full statement or the alternative. In general, it's city water and city sewer, so I just go ahead and do the ones. And you can even you can have a separate template for rural and city properties. I've done that in the past. And I am not a huge fan of home warranties. Since I am writing this as the buyer's agent, I will put me as the buyer's agent down there. And then I'll know about dual agency later. And that should be it. So then we save and exit. And those will be on the template every time I go to look at it. So then if I need to write a cash offer, I can do that from my car right after, like literally in 3 minutes. Like it is such a good way to do this. Does anybody have any questions about any of this? Does this make sense?
You can add the purchase agreement to the template, that's what we.
Yep, we put the purchaser, yeah, so now that it's filled out, like when I go to create, let's say I'm gonna write a cash offer on a property. So I can go into, let's look at something in Bloomington that's live right now. Oh, it didn't go through. So I'm gonna buy this house. I can just go ahead to the transaction forms. And I'm gonna go into the legacy because we don't have our stuff there yet, but we will. And then I'll go down to my Win Home cash buyer packet.
Can you do this on your phone?
I'm sure you can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They do not have great reviews, but there is an app.
Yeah.
Noted, thank you.
But I suppose if you know, I'm sure if they do the templates, then you could probably do it pretty.
Maybe a little bit easier, yeah.
You are able to do it on your phone? Yeah. Right.
Advantage.
Totally. I always go and just grab, oh, they didn't even put in their appliances in this one. Never mind. Okay, yep. So then we'll go next. Our offer date will be today. Go next, we could have put the closing date. Let's go back. Closing date. Let's say it's going to be the 7th of November. Existing contact. We'll use Billy Idol because he used to be my favorite. There we go. Next. And those are the things that I absolutely need for a cash offer. And then they've got the documents with their TOS and their seller disclosure. And I have everything I need. And so all I would have to do is ask Billy, hey, do you want a inspection on this property or no? How much earnest money? He says $5,000. Okay, great. How much do you want to spend? He's gonna give them 400,000. And we could have put this in the into the wizard, so that would have been fine. But yeah, like,
Is the wizard like an AI kind of thing?
it's just that, it's just where you can add it in beforehand and it auto populates. Yeah. It doesn't do it necessarily for you, but yeah, look, all of these things, you know what, he's going to elect to have but it's not contingent. And he's not doing, and you know, cause he's an investor, he's gonna be flipping this anyway, let's say. Let's do 5-day period since we're closing in 3 weeks. And for him, he can make this with purchase without selling anything else. But then everything else is already done for me. That's it. I
Is
mean,
it all set up for signing then too?
so then all I need to do is create the signature. Add participants from transaction. And I don't have anything to sign on this. Well, because I don't do arbitration, I always decline. So yeah, there wouldn't be anything for me to sign. We'll select him. We'll grab the rest of the documents. This is where I would upload his proof of funds and everything. And we'd be good to go. We need that.
Donna, do you ever use a TC or have you?
I do have a TC.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I saw profile up there, but I feel like they add profile ads.
They put so much stuff in there, so I rather, like, I will create my own
Yeah.
so that I don't have to wade through all the junk, because they put every scenario in one, which I understand. If I was a transaction company, I might do it that way. However, I think I would be so much more apt to do it specifically for the different broken up ones so that people don't have to think. Like, it's like, this is to make this as easy as absolutely possible.
Well, and I'm seeing, which I didn't know was here in my transaction templates are.
Your team has it all done. Right,
Yeah, specific to me for.
right,
As a transaction coordinator.
yeah. So they have it all ready for you.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
TC is too.
And
I didn't know that.
yep, and you want that, like,
Yeah.
otherwise you're fumbling and looking at it and you're wondering, do I need this and I need that? And it's important, even if you're gonna have a transaction coordinator, to know all of these things, to keep it, you know, updated and all of that. One of the things that I like to do with my signings, you know, oftentimes I will create a listing contract and everything, but I don't know what they're gonna choose. I come with a range, and whatever they're gonna choose, I go ahead and set those signings up with the text block for me to fill out. So then I get it first. I do an ordered signing. It comes to me first. We talk about everything. They tell me, well, what's it gonna be? What's the, you know, price gonna be? And I put it in and then I sign everything and then they get it. So we can do these things so that it's really set up for us to have really great success. Does anybody have any questions about these templates or any of the other things?
I'm mind blown with the clauses.
Me too.
Right.
I'm excited about the clauses.
Totally worth
We
it.
keep
My mind
saying,
like
you
the, on the cell.
find it, you know,
Right?
paste, cut, paste, and like, why don't we just have them here?
And there's been a lot of talk like over the years with the office kind of getting, you know, that all set up with different clauses. And it hasn't happened, but that would be so great to have so many, you know, options.
And I think that, you know, I think that that's like, we've done a lot of really great masterminding things. Why not have a hive mind shared? What are the clauses that you use most often?
Right.
I love hearing other people's.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I have even asked I'm such a nerd, guys. You understand? Like, I will call, like, I have just a friend, I've used the same closer, you know, my same title person the whole time, and I'll ask him, have you seen any interesting clauses that I maybe have never heard of?
Good.
You know, cause
Yeah.
I'm not gonna know it all and
Right.
I'm not gonna have every situation.
Oh, no.
I wanna know
Your nerdiness.
what other people
Yeah, and if
are
I see a
doing.
good one, like on,
Yes,
I'll
right.
they put it in my
Yes.
notes section.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, where was that? Where
Yeah.
was that?
Yeah.
But then I have the other one, that's still the old one, I'm like, I can't find, yeah.
Wait, I have a question. So in my prior brokerage, we all had a, like KW, I mean, like they have their general templates that are up to date.
Mhm.
And we have that here, right?
Yep, they're in there.
But as I'm saying, clauses and things like that would be additional.
It is, yeah, like somebody has to go in and create the clauses in the office's account.
Yeah.
Right.
Like there's an account that
Right.
the back engine people
yep.
have, so I'm sure Rob would have access to that. And I'm sure Allison would probably have access to that. And it would just be us talking about it. Like, remember we did kind of a mastermind around the net sheet thing.
Yeah.
We all brought our net sheets just to show the different types because everybody uses something different. And
That'd be a good
in
one.
order, like it's those things, it's that kind of thing where we can elevate each other and, because like the net sheet that's currently in there doesn't have it broken out between like,
Yeah.
I just don't like it at all. Like,
Yep.
whereas like for me, a good net sheet has to have the listing agent and the buyer's agent's commission broken out.
Yeah.
Like to have that all in one, I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't want your client just swallowing this great big number and be like, oh, you're making more than I am on this whole thing. Cause
Plus
it's
they're
not
both-
you.
I mean, they're two individual
Exactly.
points of negotiation.
Truly, right now, especially. Yeah. So I like to have it different. No, I think that that's a good thing. I definitely am always willing to share mine and those clauses. I just think they're such a good thing to make life easier. Yeah,
Awesome, thank you.
of course.
So much.
Well, as you all know, I like being a resource. So if there's ever any questions about any of it, please just reach out. Like most times I can just navigate like the screens of these, like from memory. Like I'm driving down the road and I'm like, okay, click here. It's on page 10, Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you
course.
for sharing.
Of course. Is there any questions from online? If not, we're gonna go ahead and end there. Oh, is there somebody that one? Nope, thank you so much, Lisa. Have a good day.
You too.
Yay.
Thank you.